Speaker recognizes Representative Knezek.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in opposition to House Bill 4369, a bill that would expand the Education Achievement Authority. Within this chamber, I doubt that you would find a member that did not come to Lansing with the goal of improving public education in our state. I, too, continue to be frustrated by what appears to be a persistent decline in some of Michigan's public schools, but I'm of the strong opinion that much of that decline is the result of self-inflicted wounds, courtesy of the legislature. Year after year, we continue to ask our teachers to do more and more with less and less. The Education Achievement Authority is being presented to this body as the new and improved testing ground for public education. Mr. Speaker, it's my understanding that we operate within a data-driven administration, and yet we stand here today prepared to codify the EAA after being in existence for only 5 months. How can the members of this body honestly say that we've done our due diligence on this issue? How can we justify the codification of an entity that threatens to undermine or take away our local control? How can we approve an entity that has failed to provide my committee or this legislature with any of the written curriculum that is used in the classroom? And how can we, with the state's eyes upon us, approve an entity that places kids in front of a computer and expects them to teach themselves rather than focusing on smaller class sizes, increasing time on task, and attracting the most qualified teachers? For what reason can we justify giving the EAA the ability to charter their own schools within 2 miles of an EAA school? If we're trying to fix school A, why would we build school B right down the road and then turn control over to a private entity, one that can take tax dollars, the tax dollars of hardworking Michigan citizens, and then turn them into a profit? But what troubles me the most is something that I cannot even get a straight answer on. When I toured the EAA weeks ago, I asked Chancellor Covington to tell me why the further codification of the EAA was necessary if, according to him, there were amazing transformations already taking place under the current interlocal agreement. He replied to me that he needed Title I dollars and that codification was the only way to ensure that he would have access. However, during his testimony 2 weeks ago, Chancellor Covington told the committee that the EAA truly doesn't qualify for Title I dollars. So I ask, what is the truth, Mr. Speaker, and why can't we get a straight answer? If further codified, the expansion of the EAA will take millions of dollars away from the multitude of other schools across this state that will fall under its reach. The elected officials in this body deserve honesty, we deserve transparency, and our constituents deserve that same honesty and transparency. And so they have the right to know that if the EAA comes into their district, it has the potential to take away millions of dollars from their public schools. Mr. Speaker, I've worked in our public school classrooms and I've seen directly the impact of our decisions here in Lansing on Michigan's children. Similarly, I've seen the impact of the EAA through my time spent touring their schools and talking to the students currently in attendance there. And so let me share with you, Mr. Speaker, not my words and not my opinions on this issue, but let me share with you the words of those students currently trapped within this unproven system. From Nolan Elementary to Henry Ford and Mumford High Schools, their words stand in stark contrast to what some would have us think is a successful system. Mr. Knezek, I kind of miss having books to learn with, they'd say. Another told me, Mr. David, I wish that I could learn more from a teacher and less from a computer. Another student at Mumford High School told me, I'm taking the same classes this semester as I did last semester. I passed everything, but they can never get my schedule right, and so many of us are stuck repeating classes. And most disturbing to me was when a young man looked me in the eye and said, I feel like I'm trapped in a prison. Mr. Speaker, the Michigan Constitution charges us with the responsibility of educating all children, but this legislation does nothing to improve student outcomes. Even the amendments that were just offered up to this legislation, they do nothing but set our ISDs up for failure. They fail to address the MIPSR's unfunded liabilities and are nothing more than a sham trying to appease members of this body to earn a yes vote. So I urge the colleagues, my colleagues, on both sides of the aisle, to give pause to this very serious issue and to acknowledge that this is coming to their very backyards. A lot of people want to point at Detroit because the EAA presently exists only there. The fact remains, however, that with this legislation, the EAA will spread across the state of Michigan and has the potential to make its way into every district in this state. Pursuant to Section 16, subsection A of this bill, even if your district is achieving superior academic success but is hurting financially and comes under the control of a financial manager, the EAA can come into your district and take over your schools. With $2 billion cut to public education over the last 2 years, every Michigan district is at risk. With enactment today, Detroit Public Schools will no longer be the only district comprising the EAA. Joining them will be, first and foremost in my district, Inkster Public Schools. They'll be joined by Kalkaska Public Schools, Forest Area Public Schools, Lake City Public Schools, West Branch Rose City Public Schools, South Haven Public Schools, Parchment Public Schools, Decatur Public Schools, Brandywine Public Schools, Niles, Wolverine, and Oscoda Public Schools, New Haven, Port Huron, Mio Au Sable, and Vanderbilt Public Schools will join them. Mr. Speaker, I ask my colleagues to have the courage to vote in the interest of their districts. I ask my colleagues to vote in the interest of their district's parents who seek local control and input over their public schools. I ask that my colleagues have the courage to push back against this untested and unproven experiment with our kids. Our children are not commodities. They are not goods to be bought and sold. Mr. Speaker, education is not a business. And so I ask my colleagues to have the courage to defeat this legislation rather than pass this bill and take the public out of public education. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.